More than 2,000 students, teachers, and staff members across several states are now in quarantine after at least 230 positive cases of COVID-19 were reported in school districts that resumed in-person learning. In Georgia alone, nearly 1,500 students and staff are back home after multiple districts reported outbreaks. And we find similar stories in Mississippi, Alabama, Indiana, and Oklahoma, all reporting a spike in positive cases since classes began. And as parents coast to coast weigh the risks of sending their children back into the classroom, some, like my next guests, don't have a choice. As part of California Governor Gavin Newsom's mandate, public schools that are in counties with rising cases above a certain threshold cannot hold in-person classes, and they have to meet strict criteria to reopen. It is that mandate that has prompted Christine Ruiz and Jesse Petrilla to file a lawsuit along with some other parents against the governor, with the first hearing on this scheduled for Monday. And Christine and Jesse are joining me now. Thank you so much to both of you for being with us.
Thank you, Brianna, for having us.
So this lawsuit alleges that students will not receive equal access to education. Tell us, Christine, first, why you decided to move forward with this lawsuit.
Sure. I have 3 boys, 2 with a diagnosis of autism. My middle son has severe autism. My younger son has higher functioning autism. They are hands-on learners. They work with a team. They work with a highly educated special education teacher, professionals, behavioralists, speech therapists, occupational therapists. And without that team to do that hands-on learning, they're just languishing at home. There's no type of education going on. My children cannot sit in front of a computer screen and do Zoom meetings all day long. It's just regression is profound and detrimental in our children. My children are already cognitively behind typical children, and we've pushed them so far. They've gained so much, and now with this type of regression that I'm seeing, the type of behaviors escalating, I'm very worried about how their outlook, their future will be. How will we ever catch up? You know, how much damage will this be doing to their lifetime?
And look, Christine, I think that is a complaint we've been hearing from a lot of parents whose kids have IEPs. They are not being fulfilled. They're not getting that special ed help that they need. Jesse, tell us about your family's situation and why you're moving forward with this lawsuit.
Sure. Well, I'd like to thank the Center for American Liberty, who is backing the lawsuit. I'm the father of 2 boys, including a 6-year-old that just started kindergarten last year when this all began. And I noticed a significant decline in engagement and motivation and just overall getting restless around the house. I mean, at that age, social interactions are such a crucial part of learning. And I mean, the wife and I are lucky that she can stay home with him, but a lot of the working parents are not so fortunate. And this creates such a inequality between the working class and affluent parents who can afford private schools or tutors or childcare, and keeping the schools closed will affect everyone, especially the working class. Lower income families and rural students will have far less access to high-speed internet and the needed technology. Hospitals are starting to report a higher rate of child abuse, and that's just what's being reported. There are so many cases that are not being reported where a teacher would notice bruises on a kid or ask the kid how he's doing and find out something's going on in the home. And another issue is that students who rely on school meals are being left without proper nutrition. I mean, we just believe the negative effects far outweigh the risks.
Okay, and so I want to go through what California is doing here so that our viewers understand it, especially those who are not in California or don't have kids there. California right now is going county by county, and what they're saying is they look at a county and the rate cannot be over 100 in 100,000 for infections for schools to open. And then if you're in that category, in that bracket, schools can't be open, and then schools have to go past that threshold to have a lower rate than that for a certain period of time before they can reopen. So it's some strict criteria that they have to meet. Christine, I think you are in Los Angeles County, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's 100 in 100,000. You're at 324.8, so you're well over it. And Jesse, you're in my beloved Orange County, which is where I'm from, I believe. Yep. Is that right? Okay, so you are at 197, my old stomping ground. So you're at almost 200 per 100,000. So you are as well considerably above that threshold. How do you negotiate that, knowing that the state is saying, look, we don't think that this is a safe threshold. You guys are in areas that are in hot spots. Are there other possibilities, maybe seeking out, I don't know, special consideration for students, Christine, who need that additional help that I think no one is arguing that your kids do not need that. I completely take you at your word with that.
Sure. LA County is probably the second largest county in the United States. We have 88 cities, 140 unincorporated towns. It should not be a blanket all statement for all our schools. The city that I live in has low COVID numbers. Our school district was prepared to open on August 11th. They had decreased their student population by 50%. Half the kids were going to be going to school Monday, Tuesday, the other half Thursday, Friday, and especially for our special needs children who have a small class size. So I definitely think the governor should have maybe let the local local cities, local school districts, see, are we prepared? Are we following the local county guidelines, CDC protocols and procedures? And I felt our school district was, so we should have been allowed to open. And it's not, my special needs children should not be lumped in with the general education students, because that's not how they learn. And that's exactly what's happened.
And I want to say what the state is saying here. They've responded to your lawsuit. They argue that you're relying on inaccurate and outdated beliefs that school-aged children do not spread COVID-19. You responded to this in this lawsuit. The public has no interest in keeping schools closed this fall because in-person learning does not meaningfully increase the risk of spreading COVID-19. So, Jesse, let me ask you about that, because there is evidence that they do meaningfully spread that. We have seen that in Georgia. We've seen where places have had to roll back. Even as you make this case that I think so many parents are, look, they're very sympathetic to the case that you're saying you need to be a little more exact, maybe a little more on the micro scale about how you're going to approach closing or opening schools. What do you say to that when you're arguing that in-person learning does not meaningfully increase the risk of spreading COVID-19?
Well, Brianna, I think you hit another point there, which you were absolutely right on. We need a micro approach to this. This should be a local decision. There are districts that have no cases. There are districts that have very few cases that wouldn't meet that threshold. But having grown up in Orange County, you've got to realize there's such a vast difference in the demographics, in the density between North and South County. This is 3 million people we're talking about, with nearly 30 school districts. And so for the governor to take this away from the local authority is really unfortunate, because I can tell you our district came up with mitigated efforts to bring down the risk. 50 slides in the last school board meeting that talked about temperature checks at the doors, different issues, face masks for teachers, all kinds of things. These are smart people. Look, we have robots driving around on Mars. I think we can find a way to get together and open the schools safely. Now, this is a midday show. A lot of the people watching are working from home, many are parents, and some of you are even looking for work. Some are single parents. And is it realistic to ask you to potentially watch your kids and do distance learning and play teacher for the next year? Or should the government do their job and find a way to safely open the schools?
I certainly hear you. You're going to have to address this, though, if you're alleging that this doesn't increase the risk of spreading. I think you're going to have to deal with that in court, just so that I know you'll be prepared for that. But look, Christine, Jesse, I really appreciate this conversation. It's on the minds of so many parents and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.